What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup, Season 4, Episode 5, Get Right or Get Left. So, Episode 6 just came out tonight, and I could have skipped Episode 5 altogether, but y'all, there's some things in Episode 5 that I really wanted to talk about, and I would definitely get into Episode 6 later. So, we start off with Kevin, Tiffany, and Curtis. We start off where we left off, where Kevin had knocked out Curtis, knocked him right off his feet with what was it, like a right hand punch. The boy tipped completely over, hit his head on the concrete, and he was knocked out cold, unconscious, blacked out. And so Kevin gets in his car. He's like, okay, I'm done here. He gets in his car and he's about to literally drive off with the back of his tire inches away from Curtis's head as Curtis lays on the ground. And everybody was like, no, 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 you can't drive off because you're going to run him over. And so Kevin's got this cigarette dangling from the corner of his mouth and he's trying to do the one hand reverse. And he leans out the window and he's like, yeah, can y'all go ahead and move him, please? Because I got to go. So now I'm thinking to myself, well, who's going to take Tiffany home now? Curtis is knocked out. Kevin is leaving. So what is Tiffany going to do with all her boxes? And so there's a person there who's in uniform. I don't know if he was security, law enforcement. I have no idea. But he was trying to assist Curtis, trying to get him to wake up, trying to get him to sit up. And I thought to myself, first of all, if you're law enforcement, why haven't you arrested Kevin? Why are y'all letting him go? Why hasn't anybody called the police? Number one. Number two, if he's not law enforcement, if he's just security, why are you trying to move someone who just like could possibly have a very serious head injury? What's happening here? I thought you were supposed to call 911, have the paramedics show up, and then they're the ones that are supposed to stabilize his head and then, get him to a safe place. Y'all can't be pulling him up, trying to tell him to wake up and sit up. You don't know what kind of injury he could possibly have suffered in his head. He could have a brain hemorrhage. He could have a skull fracture. Y'all can't be moving this man around after this just happened to him. So when Curtis finally wakes up, he has no idea what happened. He's sitting in his truck. They get him up off the ground and he's sitting in his truck and the waffle is still there. That was hilarious. He's sitting in his truck and he has no idea what happened. They have to explain to him that he got knocked out by Kevin. So Kevin he's on the road. He's on the highway. He's, I guess, on his way home. And so he's calling his mom and he tells his mom, he's like, hey mom, I'm going to jail because I just knocked out this guy. And the mom, I think, told him to go back and go talk to Tiffany. And I was like, why would you tell your son to go back into the line, back into the line of fire after he just got into this? You can't even call it a fight because it wasn't any kind of exchange of anything. It was just him knocking out a man who was just standing there in front of him. So Tiffany, they put Curtis back into his truck, and I think they were trying to tell him to not drive, and he shouldn't have been driving. And so Tiffany tells Curtis that she's very overwhelmed. Or was she talking to a producer? I don't know. She was talking about being really overwhelmed. I don't know if at that time she even bothered to. No, she wasn't talking to Curtis. She was talking to a producer, I think. I don't even know if she took the time to even check on Curtis to see if he was still alive. But she was just talking about how overwhelmed she was. She was more concerned about, how she was feeling and what she was going through. And the next time that we see her, she's sitting on the curb and Curtis drives up. I don't know if I'm assuming this is the same day. Like, Curtis, what are you doing driving? You need to drive. Somebody should have taken you to the damn hospital, to an urgent care clinic or something, to give you an x-ray of your damn head. You don't know when it comes to head injuries. I don't want to, Bob Saget, if what they're telling us is true about Bob Saget, you don't know about head injuries, how severe or to what extent they are. You don't know. You just cannot assume that just because you don't feel like excruciating pain that you're okay. So what's her name? Tiffany is sitting on the curb. Her stuff is like by the fence somewhere. Her boxes and all her stuff is by a fence somewhere. And This is when she tells Curtis, I'm really overwhelmed and she can't really take it right now. It's all too much for her. And so she's going to talk to him in a few days. So basically, she's telling him, hit the road, Jack. I'm done with you. I guess if she felt any kind of if there was any potential feelings for Curtis, they were all gone now because he allowed this other man to knock him out, and I guess he doesn't appear as attractive anymore. I don't, I just didn't understand why. I guess, to her now he looked like someone who couldn't fight, or he looked like somebody who was really weak to allow another man to hit him like that. So she has no use for him. So I was like, damn, Curtis, you got your brain loosened in your skull for this girl. And she's telling you to hit the road, and she's, she'll call you in a few days. Damn, Curtis. Ooh, how embarrassing. How you almost lost your life for this girl, and she ain't got no time for you now. So then Tiffany calls Kevin like nothing happened. She's like, "Hey, where you at?" And Kevin is like, "What you mean where I'm at? I'm on my way home." And then Tiffany says, "Well, can you come back and get me?" And then Kevin is like, "Why in the world would I come back and get you?" And then she says, "Oh, don't worry about him. He was just some guy from high school." And so, I guess when she saw Kevin knock out this defenseless man who was just standing in front of him, I guess that kind of, that little short man really turned her on or something, because I was like, this is all too bizarre. You call this one guy to come pick you up because evidently you need to use his truck for all your stuff. He comes and he picks you up. He gets knocked out by this other guy who you told specifically to not even show up. And he shows up anyway. He knocks out the guy that was trying to help you. And then you tell the guy that nearly died for you to go home. And then you call the little short one that you didn't even want him there to begin with. You didn't even want him there in the first place. You call him to come back and pick you up. Girl, wow, this is bizarre. Moving on to Indy and Harry. Let's move on into some more bizarro stuff. Indy and Harry. So they are on their way to go see a psychic after being pulled over and being given a ticket for Harry driving without a license. So Harry doesn't see it for psychics, and he thinks this is all a waste of time. He thinks that psychics are basically just, like con artists. They make you think that they're psychic, but they're just very carefully, reading the room, and that, that's how they're figuring out stuff. They just kind of look at your body language or your tone of voice or whatever, and then they'll tell you, oh, you're feeling sadness, oh, you're feeling angry. And it's not because of any kind of psychic ability, it's because they're just very observant with what's going on. And so as soon as they walk into the office, now this is a backup psychic because, Indy has her on call psychic who's busy having a baby. So she found this backup psychic on, I don't know, Google, Yelp, I have no idea. And so as soon as they walk into her office, the psychic says right away that she senses a lot of nervous energy. Obviously, because maybe a lot of people are kind of nervous when they go see a psychic, even for the ones who do believe in psychic. If you're going to go see a psychic, you probably are stressing out about something, and you're probably very worried about what kind of answers they're going to give you. And so, yeah, anybody would have nervous energy. But anyways, so, Harry is a real skeptic, and he's like looking at her like, whatever, ma'am. And so then Indy asks if marriage was in the cards for them. And the psychic says, yes, if you work on your relationship. Well, isn't that basically the truth for any couple that is potentially considering getting married? If you're like, hey, am I ever going to get married? Yeah, if you work on your relationship. I was like, what is this? This is nonsense. And so it would have been more impressive to me if the psychic would have said, yes, you will be married on June the 25th, 2022 at exactly 6 p.m. And then a butterfly will come and land on your bouquet, and that will be a sign of good luck. And then if that stuff actually occurs, even if you try to make it not happen, but it still happened exactly like that to the T, that would be impressive. But not, you're sure you're going to get married if you work on your relationship. Moving on. So Henry says in his confessional that he does love Indy with all of his heart, but she took me But she took me saying that I wanted to get married and have kids. She made it, she took that as like I wanted to do that like right now. And, that's not what I want to do right now. And he's saying how she's a little bit older than him and her clock is ticking. So she's kind of like on this time frame of when she wants everything to happen. And, Harry's like, you know what? That's just not my thing. I can't do it that way. So it's just not going to happen the way she expects it to, obviously. And so, as they're walking out, Harry gets a call and he says it's from his PO, but it's actually a girl. Now, I don't remember and I couldn't quite figure out if it was just some girl or if it was the mother of his child calling him, trying to make arrangements for him to come see his daughter, because we find out that, Harry is a father and he does have a child. So in his confessional, he says that he's only known Indy for a year and the whole relationship has been conducted through phone calls and something called JPay, and so which I guess is a way for inmates and their loved ones to communicate. And he says that he can't. He says he can't marry her. He's like, I just can't. I can't marry her. And he says that they haven't been together long enough. That's it's not a real relationship. That's why. Stop with the whole it's not long. It's just not a real relationship. You can't have like a real true blue relationship when someone is incarcerated. It's just not the same. You can't count that as a real relationship. So then we find out, like I said before, that Harry has a daughter with somebody named Fatima. So his daughter's name is Ava. I think she's about 5 years old. And when he went away to prison, they told her that daddy was going away to superhero camp. And, now he's out of camp and he can't wait to see her. So he's talking to his daughter on the phone and she sounds so adorable, especially when she was like, hi, daddy. She just sounded so cute. So he plans on seeing his daughter and Indy says that she wants to come along. She tells him, well, when you go see your ex and your daughter, I want to be there with you. And Harry's kind of like, yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. Let me just kind of fill it out first and see what's really going on. And then, I'll get back with you. So Indy thinks that Fatima, the mother of his child, really wants to get back with Harry. So she's really worried about them hooking up again. And that's why she wants to be there when he goes to see his daughter. So she's like, it's every woman's dream to go back with the father of their child so that they can, so that they can be back together for the benefit or for the sake of the child. And so I was like, okay, does this apply to you as well, Indy, or just to everybody in the world but you? Because you're saying that it's every woman's dream to go back to the father of their child. So you're not with the father of your child. So is it your dream as well? Like, what's tea? So while they're on their way to Fatima's house, Indy's like really stressing out. And she's like, I feel like you want to, she wants to get back with you and she's going to try to do whatever she can to get back with you. And Harry's like, there is no way that I'm going to get back with the mother of my child. It's not going to happen. So just, chill on that. So, Indy wants him to make it very clear to Fatima that there's no way that they're going to get back together and that he's in a relationship with her. And he was like, obviously, I'm going to let her know that I'm in a relationship with you. And to me, Harry is... Anyways, I don't know. My problem isn't even Harry. I don't even have an issue with Harry. I just have an issue with the adult in the relationship, which is Indy. That's the one that I'm really struggling with. But anyways, so we arrive at Fatima's house and we meet Fatima and we meet little Ava. Now, when I saw Fatima, I just couldn't picture Fatima and Harry together. I just it wasn't, I just couldn't picture it. Now, this is not to say anything about Fatima. This is not to say anything about Harry. I just couldn't. So, Fatima and Harry, they have a chance to finally sit down and talk. And she's kind of like, so what are your plans now that you're out? And he talks about, getting a job and all of that. And he says, I really want to be back in Ava's life, and I want to spend time with her, and I want to help you out with her. And she was like, how are you going to help me out when you don't really have anything? And so he's like, he's going to be working on it. And he says that he wants to be like a part of her life. He wants to be involved with everything. He doesn't want to be a weekend daddy, a part-time daddy, long distance daddy. He wants to be there for everything. And he tells her that he has a girlfriend and that his girlfriend also has a child. And so then he asks Fatima, can I have Ava for like a day or two? And Fatima was like, no, that's not going to happen, because I need to be more familiar with, the people in your life. I need to know who this indie chick is. I need to feel comfortable with her. So I was kind of like, okay, that's understandable. You're very concerned about who's around your child, and because of your father, the father's history, Harry's history, he may not be making the best decisions on who to hang around with. I totally get that, but it's like, in one sentence, he was talking about, I really want to be involved. I want to be a part of my child's life. So can I have her for a day or two? And then all of a sudden you're like, nope. So it's like he's making an attempt, and then you cut him off. But anyways, but it's understandable why she would be very, very cautious with who her own child is. Or she doesn't know Indy. She doesn't know Indy from a hill of beans. But Indy's just right outside. So can we start the getting to know each other now as soon as possible? And plus the fact that Indy also has a daughter that could be a really good friend to, or a good playmate at least to Ava. I thought it would have been a great opportunity for them to meet right then and there, but they're not going to do that because I don't think Harry is that serious about Indy. So he doesn't want to bring, these two worlds together when he already has like one foot out on his relationship with Indy. My issue is not Harry. My issue is Indy, because she should know better than to get involved with somebody as young and immature and wayward as Harry. And you have a kid. Like, Fatima, what are you doing? I mean, Indy, what are you doing? Moving on. So we have a new couple alert. We have Chaz, 55, and Branwen, 40 years old. Branwen is the inmate. She got arrested. She's doing 3 years for aggravated identity theft. So Chaz is a retired Marine, and he plays in a heavy metal band. Now, if you would have seen those words on paper, or if someone would have, given you that description before you even saw who Chaz was, which is a nickname for Charles, you would probably envision like, okay, ex-Marine. So you're thinking about this really tough, muscular, tall guy, with a buzz cut or something, just muscles popping everywhere. And then he also plays in a heavy metal band. And so you're thinking of somebody who's just like this bad boy image. But no, we get Chaz, who looks like your neighborhood CPA. So he does, his job is customer support for a tech company. It makes me wonder if he works for Apple. And then he met Branwen online on an inmate website called Paper Dolls. And so, with all intents and purposes, when they show us the pictures of Branwen is a very pretty girl. Very, very pretty girl. And it's like, wow, okay, okay, it's possible that if she wasn't incarcerated, it's very possible that a girl like Branwen would get with a guy like Chaz. Now, Chaz is not ugly. He's not unattractive. It's just like when you think of couples and how certain couples go together, I don't know, you just don't really see this as a coupling. But hey, anything is possible. So, the last time that he had been with a woman, and I'm thinking he's referring to intimately, was 2018, y'all. 2018. So it's been at least 3 years by the time they were recording this. So Chaz is really worried that Branwen would not find him attractive. And his bandmates think he's absolutely crazy for dating an inmate and being as serious as he is with this inmate. Chaz is only 5'5". And he says it's really hard for him to meet women because women are just not that crazy about short guys. And so I really wonder if Branwen knows how short he really is. And so He says that he's gotten really lucky with a woman like Branwen, but he knows that it's only because she's in prison. And I just wonder to myself, y'all, like, what does that say about you, Chaz? That the only way that you were able to get into a relationship is because you're with a woman that's basically locked up in a cage. I mean, like, how does that make you feel that you tried in real life to meet people? And evidently, he doesn't have a problem meeting women because he's been married multiple times. But it's like, okay, you've been trying the dating scene, trying to meet people in real life, and it's just not working. So you go to a prison website and you meet someone and y'all really hit it off, but it's like, wow, I met someone, but she's only talking to me because she kind of has no choice. She can't really go and talk to anybody else. But anyways, so he says that she's not high maintenance, but he does give her an allowance every 2 weeks. Here we go. So Brandon calls him and he steps outside to talk to her. And she sounds like a 12-year-old. I mean, I know she's a full grown woman, but she's got that little girl voice, that little Betty Boop type of voice. And so they talk about her release, her impending release, and they're both very excited and so on and so forth. So they're looking forward to seeing each other. Then Chaz goes to visit his sister and he wants to introduce his sister to Branwen. So he goes to his sister's house and they're talking about Branwen, and the sister obviously is very concerned about her brother dating an inmate. And the sister asks him, "So what are your plans when she comes out?" And he's like, "Well, I'm actually planning on marrying her." And the sister was like, "What? Why didn't you tell me this?" And he says, "Well, because I didn't want you to," what did he say, "discourage him," or something like that. And so, yeah, he's going to marry this woman when she gets out. We'll see. We know us lover after lockup aficionados, we know the what's up. Everybody plans to get married, right? As soon as they get out. So, he's been married 4 times, and his last wife, he's actually widowed right now because his last wife died from, I'm assuming, a drug overdose. He said she died and it has something to do with opiates. So I'm assuming it was a drug overdose or somehow drug related. And it was really difficult for him to come home and find, the body of his wife in the house like that. It was really, really hard for him. And that really, I guess he's still, trying to process that. And so the sister is really worried that Branwen will go back to her old lifestyle. I guess because he's been married to a drug addict. I don't know if Branwen is a drug addict or if the sister was just worried about Branwen going back into her criminal activities. But Chaz says that what she did really was not a lifestyle how she was living before. It was kind of like just a crime of opportunity because it was like identity theft. So he doesn't really see her as being part of this like crime culture, or she's this, lifelong criminal who's been in and out of jail her whole life. He just sees it like, the opportunity was there and she took it. Unfortunately, she ended up going to prison for it. So then Bramwell calls on the video phone. And so he introduces them to each other, the sister and the girlfriend. And Branwen was actually wearing a face mask. And the sister says, "Oh my God, you're so gorgeous." I'm like, "What are you talking about? You can only see her eyeballs. How do you know how gorgeous she is when her whole 75% of her face is covered up?" She is pretty, but like the sister really couldn't tell. So it was just like useless small talk. So the sister asks Branwen if she's going to be marrying her brother for love. Is she really serious about marrying Chaz, and like she really is in love with him and loves him and wants to be with him, or is just some BS? Of course, Branwen, who was the criminal, who is a thief, is going to okay, I don't know if she's lying or not, but of course she's going to say what they want to hear. Sister, why would you ask that dumb question when you know that they're not going to give you the most honest of answers? So, like, why? Like, why would you ask her that? Like, do you really want her to say, "No, I'm just using your short little brother for his money, and after he gives me what I want, after I get enough out of him, I'm going to leave him, or I'm going to keep, my little boy toy on the side and my prison girlfriend, I'm going to keep them all on the side while I'm using your brother for money?" Like, come on now. Don't ask those kind of questions that you're not going to get an honest answer of. So, I'm still amazed that people get married multiple times. Like, this is going to be Chaz's fifth wedding. I love my husband. I love my husband to death. But let me tell you something. If this ever ended, there's no way on God's green earth that I will ever get married again. They do say never because you never know. But it will take a lot, a whole hell of a lot for me to ever get married again. Because y'all, anyways, moving on. Kayla and Martell. Here we go. So I couldn't believe this girl called this man up after he embarrassed her the way that he did. Starting a stupid argument with her just to find an excuse to leave her to go do whatever he was doing in the middle of the night. So she calls him, but the phone goes straight to voicemail. And I was like, Kayla, why? So anyways, she's sitting on her bed, and then she pulls out a bag of all the cards and letters that he had written to her from prison. And I'm like, okay, here you are. This is how you've ended up. Okay. You could have been snuggling with your man, but he's acting like a fool. And now you're in bed and you'd rather just snuggle up with these cards and letters because he's nowhere to be found. So Kayla says in her confessional that him disrespecting her was absolutely unacceptable. So she actually starts cleaning the stove, and she just does like a really deep cleaning of the stove. And it was kind of like, was she trying to like impress him when he came home? Was like, I didn't understand why she was doing that, because I don't think she was cooking the night before after their fight. But she was cleaning the stove. That was bizarre to me. I would have left that stove exactly how it was. Let him come back home and let him get agitated again and let him leave again. Because I'm not going to let a grown person dictate to me and tell me, what to do. Like, assign me chores. Like, you can do this on your own and I'm not your child. So, he waltzes in like nothing happened. He comes in from wherever he came from, and he sits down in the dining room. Oh no, he brought a dining room table. That's what he did. He brought a dining room table for her. And so he tries to give her a kiss, like I said, like nothing happened. And she kind of moves back like this because, she's still very, very angry. So he says he went to his grandmother's house and got something to eat. And he said that's the God honest truth. Boy, anyways, if that's what you if that's what you went to go do, then why didn't you just tell her at some point, like, hey, we're going to chill here for a while, but I'm going to have to go to my grandmother's house because she's expecting me. So, I'm going to come spend time with you, and then I'm going to head on out to my grandmother's house. Or if you want to come along with me, she could have driven him there. Like, the unnecessary lies they just don't end with these people. So he either went to go get high, he either went to go do drugs or to go do a woman or something. He did not go to nobody's grandmother's house. So Martell says, Kayla is one of the sweetest women that I know, but I'm not going to tolerate all this yelling and stuff, because they get into an argument. They start talking about what happened the night before, and the argument gets heated. She talks about how you disrespected me, you embarrassed me, and he was like, how was I disrespecting you by asking you when was the last time you cooked? How am I disrespecting you? Like, he completely forgot about the fact that he was going from room to room, pointing out all the little, specks of dust or the sock that was on the washing machine, pointing out all of these little things and creating a fight and then storming out. He completely forgot about that. He think that he just casually asked her, oh, by the way, babe, when was the last time you cooked? No, it was a whole lot more than that, Martell. Stop. And so she wants him to apologize for embarrassing her and disrespecting her. He says, you know what? I'll apologize to you for embarrassing you, but I'm not going to apologize for disrespecting you because I didn't disrespect you. So they go back and forth with a stupid argument about, did she feel disrespected? Was she actually disrespected? Why won't he apologize to her for disrespecting? It's just stupid nonsense. Back and forth, back and forth. And so he just refuses to apologize about that. And then in her confessional, she says that they've been together too long for her to give up on this relationship over a small petty argument. But the argument may have been petty. It definitely was petty. But honey, that argument was very indicative of a much bigger problem between the two of you. And so then she tells him that she needs space, and he's like, cool. You don't got to tell me twice. So yeah, that was the end of that. Moving on to Taylor and Chance. Taylor and Chance, there's not much to say other than this whole situation is stupid. This whole living arrangement is absolutely stupid. So they want some privacy, and so they decide to go. They want Bobby, Taylor's sister, to watch the kids while they go spend some time alone, because they haven't really had a chance completely alone since he's been home from prison. So Bobby says, and Bobby's in her room. Okay, Bobby is like, you know how they have those sitcoms where there's always like a neighbor or a character that you always hear their voice but you never see them. That's Bobby. This reminds me of what was that sitcom with Tim the Tool Time Taylor? Hey, I forgot the name of it, but he had the neighbor that lived next door on the other side of the fence, and we never ever saw his face, but we just, would see like his eyes above the fence. Or even on The Big Bang Theory, the nerd who's got like the Beatles haircut. I forgot his name. Was his name Howie? I think his name was Howie, or Howard. We never saw his mother. We just heard her voice. This is Bobby. This is Bob. We have seen Bobby, but it's like we haven't seen her in so long. I forgot what she looked like, because Bobby never comes out of her room for some reason. When they talk to Bobby, they literally will talk to her through the crack of her door because she never comes out. So Taylor wants us to believe that she doesn't come out because her and Chance don't get along. I think she doesn't come out because she's not cool with the cameras. She doesn't want to be on film. That's why I think it's just weird that she never comes out of this room. So they're like, "Hey, Bobby, we're gonna be stepping out for a few minutes. Can you watch the kids?" And on the other side of the door, all you hear is sure. So Taylor and Chance, they leave. They want some alone time. They go to a cemetery, and they do what it do over there on the cemetery, at the cemetery. They come back home to total chaos. The girls are bouncing off the walls. They rearranged the furniture. They're flipping, doing somersaults and all kinds of stuff on the furniture. It was chaotic. And where's Bobby? Well, Bobby's in her room. I'm pretty sure, when they're about to come, maybe a cameraman stayed with her to get some footage, and she never came out of her room, I guess. I don't know. But this woman was not to be seen. So they come home, they see all this chaos, and they're like, "Bobby, why aren't you watching the kids?" And she's like, "I was." And I'm like, "How? You're like in a completely different room with the door shut. How are you watching the kids, girl?" So they get upset because she wasn't watching the kids. And, Chance, being a man coming from prison, probably having all kinds of like sensory issues, just sensory overload with the loud kids and all of this chaos. And he was probably just losing his mind. The kids should have been fed, bathed, and in bed by the time they got back, but that wasn't the case. And so Chance and Taylor, they're arguing because, she doesn't want to lose her sister. And Chance is like, "Hey, your sister's worthless. She needs to go. We can do better just us alone with the kids. She's not watching your children. They could have ran out and gotten run over by a car, or something even worse could have happened. And your sister's nowhere to be found." And so he's like, "I don't understand why you're keeping her around when she's not really doing much of anything around here." And she's like, "That's my sister, blah, blah, blah." Anyways, Bobby never came out, and we never see Bobby. But at some point, while Chance and Taylor are arguing in the bedroom, I guess Taylor heard her sister come out of the room. So she runs into the living room, I guess to talk to her or something. By the time she got to the living room, y'all, somehow Bobby has slithered from the bedroom to the front door into her car, and she was out of there. And we did not see hide or tail of her. She moved like lightning. I mean, she saw this one little tiny window of opportunity where there was no camera, and she took that opportunity and she ran with it. And she was gone. She was probably like jumping over couches and stuff, like a track runner jumping over hurdles, trying to get out of there so fast before they turned that camera on her. So she was gone. And Taylor and Chance, they're struggling with the kids and the chaos and the sister that's living behind the door. Moving on to Lacey and Antoine. So this is another, well, not a new couple, but we're first introduced now to Antoine. He's out of prison. Remember, Antoine's the one whose mother is Lacey's best friend. So he comes out, and Antoine when he comes out of prison and they see each other, it was very lackluster. Usually, when the prisoners and their boyfriends and girlfriends meet, they're like hugging and kissing and they can't let go of each other, and they're stumbling over their feet and they're falling on the ground together and they're rolling around and they're just so happy to see each other. But Antoine was just really strange. He really wasn't that excited. He was just like, "Oh, hey, yeah, it's really good to see you." And they hug and they get in the car, and they start driving. And in his confession, okay, so anyways, he's a bad boy. He's been in and out of jail practically his whole life. He spent years in jail for auto theft, for drugs. I don't know if he has a drug problem. I'm assuming he does, but he's a bad boy. And he says that the reason why he's always getting in trouble with the law is because he gets bored really easily. And so I don't know how she's going to keep him on the straight and narrow if he gets that distracted and he gets that bored with, real life. So I don't know how she's going to handle this. And while they're in the car, she kisses him again, and then he actually wipes his mouth. And she says, "Are you wiping away my kisses?" And he was like, "Yeah, because it was too wet." And I'm like, "What are we, 8 years old? Like, what are you talking about?" You know how little kids are when their grandmothers kiss them and they wipe their mouths or they wipe their cheeks. I was like, "You're a grown man. Act like it." Anyway, so yeah, we got to see the introduction of that relationship. And what I can say about this season of Love After Lockup, these the prison men, this is a nice looking bunch. This is a nice looking bunch of men, are inmates, because Harry is cute. Martel, Martel has a lot of issues, but I think Chance is also cute. I think Antoine is also cute. This is a good looking bunch of men. So yeah, that is my review. Thank you so much for joining me and making it this far, 36 minutes in. Thank you so much. Please don't forget to rate the video. Don't forget to subscribe. I will definitely be back with episode 6, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye.